Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janna Bhallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Janna Bhallabha Girivardhari. Jasora Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Jasora Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Ho Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivardhari. Jasora Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Jasora Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Jamunatira Vanachari. Jamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Shri Radha Madhava ki, Shri Radha Giridhari ki jai. Jayo Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Jashodhara Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajaka Jashodhara Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Samveda Bhakti ki jai. Go Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Gauravani Brajadini Vishesha Shanyavari I was wondering what happened if we switched the pictures around in the temple room. Yeah, you know, like sometimes you go shopping and all of a sudden at Trader Joe's they've moved everything around to make it like a new store. So I was wondering what happened if we just kind of, they've been in the same place for like 40 years and people go, wow, something's new about the temple room. You know, just interesting. Because they're not set in like shrines. Yeah, just see if it's kind of freshen things up a bit, move things around. See if anyone notices. Hare Krishna. So this morning we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the 7th canto, chapter 1. The Supreme Lord is equal to everyone. 27, text 27. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yata Vairānubandhena Martyas Tan Mayatam Yat Na Tata Bhakti Yogena Iti Me Nishtita Matihi Yata Vairānubandhena Marjas Tanmayatam Yat Natata Bhakti Yogena Iti Me Nishtita Mitihi Yata Vairānubandhena Marjas Tanmayatam Yat Natata Bhakti Yogena Iti Me Nishtita Mitihi Yata Vairānubandhena Marjas Tanmayatam Yat Natata Bhakti Yogena Iti Me Nishtita Mitihi. Anyone like to chant? Yata Vairānubandhena Marjas Tanmayatam Yat Natata Bhakti Yogena Iti Me Nishtita Mitihi. Word for word. Yata, as Vaira Anubandhena, by constant enmity. Marjaha, a person. Tat Mayatam, absorption in him. Yat, may attain. Na, not. Tata, in a like manner. Bhakti Yogena, by devotional service. Iti, thus. May, my. Nishtita, definite. Matihi, opinion. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Nārada Muni continued, by devotional service one cannot achieve such intense absorption in thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as one can through enmity toward Him. That is my opinion. Please repeat. Nārada Muni continued, by devotional service one cannot achieve such intense absorption in thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as one can through enmity toward him. That is my opinion. Purport. Srimad Nārada Muni, the topmost pure devotee, praises Krishna's enemies like Shishupal because their minds are always completely absorbed in Krishna. Indeed, he thinks himself deficient in the inspiration of being feelingly absorbed in Krishna consciousness. This does not mean, however, that the enemies of Krishna are more elevated than Krishna's pure devotees. So why would he say such a thing? In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila 5205, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami also thinks of himself in such a humble way. Jagad Madai Haite Muni Se Papishta. Puri Shira Kita Haite Muni Se Lagishta. I am a worse sinner than Jagai and Madai, and am even lower than the worms in the stool. A pure devotee always thinks himself more deficient than everyone else. If a devotee approaches Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī to offer some service to Krishna, even Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī thinks that the devotee is greater than she. Thus, Nārada Muni says that according to his opinion, the enemies of Krishna are better situated because they are fully absorbed in thoughts of Krishna in terms of killing him, just as a very lusty man always thinks of women and their association. The essential point in this connection is that one should be fully absorbed in thoughts of Krishna 24 hours a day. There are many devotees in Raga Marga, which is exhibited in Vrindavan, whether in Dasya Rasa, Sakya Rasa, Vatsalya Rasa, or Madhurya Rasa. All the devotees of Krishna are always overwhelmed by thoughts of Krishna. When Krishna is away from Vrindavan, tending the cows in the forest, the gopis in the Madhurya Rasa are always absorbed in thoughts of how Krishna walks in the forest. The soles of his feet are so soft that the gopis would not dare keep his lotus feet on their soft breasts. Indeed, they consider their breasts a very hard place for the lotus feet of Krishna, yet those lotus feet wander in the forest, which is full of thorny plants. The gopis are absorbed in such thoughts at home, although Krishna is away from them. Similarly, when Krishna plays with his young friends, Mother Yasoda is very much disturbed by thoughts that Krishna, because he's always playing and not taking his food properly, must be getting weak. These are examples of the exalted ecstasy felt in Krishna's service and manifested in Vrindavan. This service is directly praised by Nārada Muni in this verse, indirectly praised by Nārada Muni in this verse. Especially for the conditioned soul, Nārada Muni recommends that one somehow or other be absorbed in thoughts of Krishna, for that will save one from all the dangers of material existence. Full absorption and thought of Krishna is the highest platform of Bhakti Yoga. Om Agyanti Varandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshul Unminitam Nena Taismai Sri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Nena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svabhadantikam. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhakti Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Panchakapatarubhascham Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patidanam Bhavani Bhu Vaishnavi Bhu Namo Namaha. By all your good thoughts and wishes, I'll try to say a few words. Prabhu, could you open that door a little bit? Just let some air in here. Thank you. Maybe a little bit more. It's going to be a long class.
9:17. Breakfast is at 9:17.
Okay. Are you making breakfast right now? Is that what's going on? He's working on it. Okay. A lot to be said here. Nārada Muni continued, by devotional service one cannot achieve such intense absorption and thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as one can through enmity toward Him. That is my opinion. So this is showing the very, very exalted position of the devotees of the Lord. The great magnanimity of their hearts and how humble they are always feeling themselves. The Vaishnavas are always known for their humility. I remember Yudhisthira, and actually Yudhisthira Prabhu, he's got to tell the story to get all the emotional impact of this particular story, but it reminds me of a story he told. He was in India, and they ran into some Shaivites. Big Yudi, you know, big Shaivites with the big tilak and this and that, you know. And I think they're like yogis too or something like that. But he came up to him because he saw he was a Vaishnava like that. He said, you know, you Vaishnavas, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. I am a devotee of Mahadev. You know, Hare Krishna. Like making fun of the devotees being so humble and just chanting Hare Krishna. You know, big, like that. So the Vaishnavas are always very, very humble and not proud. Trinadapi sunichena tororiva suhishtana manidamana kirtaniya sadahari. And we can see that pride is omnipresent in the consciousness of living entities in this material world, and it even enters or is an indication that one is not, we say, not very spiritually advanced at all. And that one is very, very proud. Because one could be very proud of one's spiritual position, so-called spiritual position, and even one can be a proud devotee, right? So one has to be very, very careful. These are all disqualifications. And hearing about Nārada Muni saying, I think Shishupal is a lot more Krishna conscious than I am, right? Or Krishna Das Kaviraj saying, you know what my position is? I'm lower than Jagaya Madai, and even lower than a worm in stool. Now, is he just talking to make everyone think he's really humble? Because sometimes devotees do that. I remember Hinana Maharaj in one lecture, he was saying that, you know, sometimes devotees, they feign humility like that. And he's saying this particular verse here, one says this verse, and one says, well, you know, I'm so fallen, I'm like a worm in the stool of someone who has leprosy. So, well, I'm so fallen, I'm the worm in the stool of a worm in stool. You know, they just keep going and going and going. How far down can you go? You know? But do we really feel that way? Do we even know what it feels like to be a worm in stool? I think we've forgotten. We've been there, done that. But it's pretty bad, right? Just say like you walk out on the street and you actually step on something like that. And some neighbor didn't curb their dog, right? That's always happened. In our life sometime, it's probably happened to every single one in this room. And they're just in it. They're just having a grand old time like that. But what a horrible place to be. I mean, it's pretty low on the totem pole, okay? Or Jagai Madai. They so offensive to Lord Nityananda that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually came to kill them. And then Nityananda forgave them, but how offensive. And he's really thinking that I'm lower than they are. We can imagine the humility of the great devotees. And the ultimate example is given of Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī, who's a personification and source of all devotion and love of Krishna. Prabhupada says here that if a devotee approaches Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī to offer some service to Krishna, she thinks that the devotee is greater than she is. So this cannot be imitated. I mean, that's what we were discussing earlier. Sometimes devotees will imitate this and think, oh, I'm more humble than this, I'm more humble than that. And what actually is humility? There's one nice definition given, is that a humble person doesn't think less of themselves, they think of themselves less. See the difference? A humble person doesn't think less of themselves, they think of themselves less. And this is the misunderstanding of the humility of the Vaishnava. And, as Prabhupada points out, sometimes there's criticism, and Prabhupada pointed out that the two greatest wars in India, in the Mahabharata war and the Ramayana war, who were the heroes? Two devotees, Arjuna and Hanuman, and they were humility personified. So how's that possible? Great warriors are humility personified, because all good qualities, we take them in connection with Krishna. just being humble for the sake of being humble won't get you out of this material world. Won't get you very far at all. In fact, people take advantage of you. But humility in relation to Krishna, that's true humility. That's absolute humility. And it can take many different forms. Arjuna was very, very humble. Right? In the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, you can say he was proud, thinking, it seemed he was humble. Oh, I don't want to fight. This is not a good thing to do. Hurt all these people just for me and my brothers to have some kind of a kingdom. I don't think we ought to do this. And, you know, it creates so many problems in society with all the men getting killed and the ladies being unprotected, and society gets all disturbed, and thinking, oh, he's very, very humble, nonviolent and humble. But actually, it's just the opposite. He was the most humble when at the end he told Krishna, Nashta moha smritir labdha. My illusion is all gone and I've regained my memory. And now I'm your humble servant. What would you like me to do? Well, I'll tell you what I want you to do. Fight this war. And he fought the war and established his brother properly on the throne. So humility can take many, many different forms. Sometimes in India, you hear these different stories of Prabhupada and these pandals, and people would stand up and get all upset that Prabhupada was speaking very, very strongly, even manifesting some anger towards people. But that's real humility is service to Krishna. So the devotees of the Lord, they always feel this way. And this enmity, if you think about it, when you're really angry at someone, that's a very intense emotion, right? It's very, very intense. If you're envious and feeling angry at someone, don't like them, you become obsessed. Prabhupada gives example also. Lust and anger. A lusty person always thinks of the woman. So an angry person is always thinking of their object of their anger. Right? Day and night. It's such an intense emotion. Bhavati sammoha. Completely. Just like you're just, angry. You know? And you meet people like that, and you try to stay away from them, but there are people who are just angry at everyone and everything. Right? They're angry at everyone and everything. But, as far as directing it towards a person, very, very just, it's such an intense emotion. So that's why he's saying that. The intensity of Shishupal. Now, Shishupal, of course, that's Jai and Vijay, Shishupal, Dantavakra, and so on. And the reason Krishna asked him to come, he needed someone who was get really, really angry. Really angry. So that was his seva, that was his service. And of course, Shishupal, when he was born, people get really, their hearts melt, right, Ramapati? When your two children were born, the first thing they say, dada, pita, mata, right? Whatever they say. And but Shishupal, actually, when he opened his mouth, he started blaspheming Krishna. Krishna is Krishna that, Krishna this. He just started blaspheming Krishna. It's like, whoa, what's going on with this baby? He's just blaspheming Krishna. And Krishna, of course, was his uncle, right? Yeah, uncle. And, his mother's trying to cover his mouth, be quiet. It's like, this kid's, right? So you bring a child somewhere and they start screaming, making a lot of noise, but she couldn't bring him anywhere because everywhere he brought, he just started blaspheming Krishna around the palace and so on. And she asked for the blessing, right? That, was it 100 times or 1,000 times? Just 100 times, that's all. Okay, I'll forgive him 100 times, but after that. So, in the Rajasuya sacrifice, Krishna's got his hand like this. 97, 98, 99, 100, there goes the Sudarshan chakra, for his own benefit. And of course, it was the pastime. That was his third birth. Dantavakra and Shishupal, that was Jai and Vijay's third birth. Of course, they do come back as Jagai and Madhe and sometimes. But the first things out of his mouth. I mean, talk about hating someone. You take birth and you start complaining about them, blaspheming them, insulting them. They barely can speak, and you start insulting someone. It's like, this person is absorbed. Just like a young baby comes out and goes, Hare Krishna, Jai Prabhupada. It's like, wow, from a previous birth, what devotion. So Shishupal came out, I hate Krishna. I hate Krishna. Krishna, I hate Krishna. It's like, whoa, this kid's really got something going on from a previous life. Yeah, 2 of them actually. Yeah, really upset. So his intensity, or just like it's described about Kamsa, always absorbed in Krishna consciousness, but it was negative. It's not anukulena like that. It's pratikulena. It's negative. So probably makes the point is, it's not that Nārada Muni saying here, well, yeah, just if you hate Krishna, you'll probably go back to God a lot faster than all this Hare Krishna stuff, right? Sadhan Bhakti, just hate Krishna and you'll going back to Godhead. That's not what's being said here at all. It's just the Nārada Muni is appreciating out of his humility the intensity of Krishna conscious thought in Shishupal. And of course, devotees always see the very best in everyone and try to, that's the last part of the purport, is the absorption in Krishna thought. Any way that can be done, in anger and this and that, there's different verses like that. Any way at all that one can think of Krishna, it's good. It's good. Because the Krishna thought is there, and it's purifying. It's very, very purifying. And Prabhupada would say that about the Harinam. You know, you go out on Harinam, and people hear the holy name, and they may get all upset. What is this Hare Krishna, Krishna? Was it Gadadhar Das, the devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? He was always absorbed in Krishna consciousness, and there was that Muslim king. And he went right into the court of the king, and said, I want you to chant Hare Krishna. Now, this was at a time when you don't do something like that to a Muslim, and this king was known for not being friendly to Hindus. But he was in such ecstasy, he just went right into the court and said, you know, I want you to chant Hare Krishna and go back to Godhead. And the king was so moved by his intensity of Krishna consciousness, he didn't get upset. He goes, I'll chant Hare Krishna tomorrow. And then he said, you chanted Hare Krishna now, Haribo, you're liberated. And he left. So, you know, anything to get him to chant Hare Krishna, like that. Or the guards, they were returned to Chankazi, right? Their beards were burned and this and that. And they say, what's going on? What's going on? Well, they're all out chanting Hare Krishna, 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 Hare. And they're chanting Hare Krishna. They're not supposed to do that. They're Muslims. So anyway, we get people in contact with Krishna is good. Even if it says, what is that? Hasa, making fun. That's one of the, you know, hela, like that. Laughing or making fun or criticizing or just somehow or other get them to chant Hare Krishna, like that. So Prabhupada says here at the end, the essential point in this connection is that one should be fully absorbed in thoughts of Krishna 24 hours a day. You know, I should make another point too, that, you know, as far as feeling humble, you know, this verse, Trinadapi sunichena tororiva suhishnana amanidamani kirtaniya sadahari. One should feel oneself lower than the straw on the street. You know why straw is lower than grass? Green grass? Well, it's dead. There's something a little more about that. It says you step on grass, it comes back up. But straw doesn't come back up. So, you know, there's no resistance at all. So more humble than the straw on the street, more tall than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige and ready to offer all respects to others. So if we want to examine in our own lives, how good are we doing as far as this verse is concerned? You know, a really good test? Sit down in the temple room and chant rounds. Or just chant your rounds in one place, don't go anywhere. Right? That's a good test. Yeah, just sit there and chant. You really can't sit there and chant for very long if you're not feeling humble and tolerant, and, you know, you just can't. That's what the verse is. Kirtaniya sadahari. I mean, you can chant forever if you have these qualities. So if we can't, like, we get all fidgety and this and that and whatever, it's a sign that we got to work on these 4 things. So Prabhupada saying here, the essential point is one should be fully absorbed in thoughts of Krishna 24 hours a day. And of course, then he starts talking about the devotees in Vrindavan, how exalted they are. They just can't, in one word in the purport, which is pivotal, is the word overwhelmed. The devotees are overwhelmed. What is overwhelmed? Because there's underwhelmed too. Someone can underwhelm you also, right? So what's it in being overwhelmed and underwhelmed? Too much? Are you saying that like an Indian? Too much emotion? Or are you saying like too much emotion? There shouldn't be that much. What's overwhelm mean? A lot. Just like so much. It's like being down at the beach, right? Now this time of year the big swells are in. You still going? So you can get overwhelmed by one of those waves, right? And they just knock you over and you're overwhelmed. Underwhelmed means, like that. Try again later, some other time, like that. So devotees are overwhelmed, and different things overwhelm the devotees. Krishna himself is a cause of being overwhelmed. The beauty of Krishna and his different qualities and characteristics. Devotional service itself can be overwhelming. And that's where we are. Our service is what we need to concentrate on and perfect our service, and the service itself is overwhelming because Krishna reciprocates with his devotees. Like how many green beans can you do? Right, that maybe you'd be overwhelmed by that gigantic basket of green beans over there in one way or other, each one perfectly clipped on the ends and so on. So overwhelmed. Because the description here of the residents of Vrindavan is far, far away from all of us, but we can appreciate that's what it means when you become very, very Krishna conscious. You can't stop thinking of Krishna. You just can't stop because you're overwhelmed. So what's getting in the way of our being overwhelmed by Krishna? We are overwhelmed, but what are we overwhelmed by? Maya. She's the big contender in this battle of our consciousness, right? And we've been around Maya a long time, and she's smart. She is so smart because she's Krishna's energy, like that, right? Chayeva yasya bhuvanati vibharga durga. So the shadow of Krishna, she's Krishna's energy. She's very, very smart. And, the jiva wants to forget Krishna. It's it's a possible thing. So Krishna's got to really, use his potency to help us forget him because we're not supposed to. It's not our constitutional position. So Maya is very, very good. And we become overwhelmed by trying this material world. Oh, there's this and there's that and this and this. And, sometimes the question came up, why are there so many species of life? 8,400,000 different species of life and all this and all that. It's because the jiva needs that many distractions because he gets bored. Oh, this kind of life, then I can be a demigod. Hey, then I can be a worm and stool if I want to get all the back down. All these things are there. It's like it just doesn't stop. It's like when you go to Disneyland, right? Who hasn't been to Disneyland? You haven't been to Disneyland. It's the happiest place on earth, right? Like that. So this one comedian said, as an adult, you go to Disneyland. He said, you want to know what it's like? It's like going to the DMV and standing in line. That's it. And that's it. It's like going to DMV, just standing in line. You just stand in line all day. But the point I'm trying to make is they have all these rides. They keep adding distractions. Because people, they keep coming and coming. They need something new. And there's all these different things to keep you distracted. You're having a great time because it's the happiest place on earth, right? So Krishna's even better. He's got 8,400,000 rides for the jiva, right? Think about it, 8,400,000 different rides. Can you imagine that? If the sign in Disneyland said, we've got 8,400,000 rides. Come on in. It's just $100 for the day. 8,400,000 rides. Whoa! But that's what we get in the material world. If you don't like that ride, there's another ride just waiting for you. So we're overwhelmed by all of this enticement in the material world. But and therefore that verse is there. How does that start? Brahmanda Brahmate Konya Bhagavan Jeev, a very fortunate living entity, gets the association of devotees, and the Bhakti Lata Bij gets planted in the heart. You know what the Bhakti Lata Bij is? It's the process of devotional service. It's the opportunity and process of devotional service. And there's an awakening that none of these rides are going to make me happy. And we've already been through them and we weren't happy. Just like these poor people who go back to Disneyland, still looking for happiness and fun, right? I've been there, tried it, been there. It's just like, so I'll bring it back to the point I wanted to make is for us, Our devotional service, that's our what we meditate on and concentrate on mostly. That service is what's going to overwhelm us with Krishna consciousness. That's our service to the spiritual master, to the Vaishnavas, and through them to Krishna. And then Krishna gradually reveals himself to his devotees, and they become incapable of thinking of anything else. But that's Krishna revealing. You can't force Krishna. Krishna reveals himself, and he reveals how attractive he is more and more and more and more and more and more. The desires there in our hearts are pure. All of these devotees, how are they different than us? What's the difference between an advanced devotee and a neophyte devotee? The advanced devotee is so anxious to serve Krishna, and then Krishna reveals himself and gives more and more and more service, and more and more beautiful and attractive, all of his qualities. So, and along with that is humility. That's back to the beginning of the verse. It's not that one becomes very advanced in Krishna consciousness and thinks, I am so advanced. I am so advanced. Look at me. I am so advanced. No, they're thinking like Nārada Muni here and Kṛṣṇa Kaviraj. Everyone's a better devotee than me. They really feel that. It's not like, hey, yeah, it's a good idea to kind of think that way, or at least say it publicly or something. No, they actually feel that way. Everyone is a better devotee than me. So we can end here. Are there any questions or comments? I'm sorry we didn't get into give you a whole time for all the green beans, but we'd be here by 11 o'clock or something. Yes. We'd be overwhelmed by green beans.
Just yesterday I read a purport in the Chaitanya Bhagavatam by Bhakti Saraswati Thakur where he's talking about this subject of humility. And there was one line that really stuck out to me. I forgot exactly what the context was, but anyway, he was describing in the purport how one who tries to be significant by his activities, by his words, etc., actually all of those things that he does actually describe his insignificance. That's what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said. I thought it was a really good line. I wrote it down.
Right to the point.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Since I'm trying to practice Krishna consciousness, I'm trying to develop this quality of humility. And you want to try to be humble, and at the same time you want to serve. But what if people start taking advantage of that? How do you deal with that?
Can you give an example?
Like, there's certain devotees that they'll never say no. And then when they say, "Oh, Prabhu, can you do this?" And then like you say, it's overwhelming. But you also don't want to commit Vaishnava aparad. So what do you do in this instance?
Okay, that's a good question. That's a managerial question, actually, what you're talking about, because you have your service and you'll have Vijaya Prabhu, I think, is in charge of you as a Sankirtan devotee also. So you just have to work that out. And if someone has asked you to do something and you're really supposed to be doing something else, you have your main service or whatever, you can say, Prabhu, I would love to. I would absolutely love to do that. But I'm supposed to go and do this now or that now, and, like that. Something like that. Is that okay? Because we were saying earlier, humility is in relationship to Krishna and our service. So being very, very humble sometimes is saying no. Say no. Like that. Not because you feel you're so important, or you're lazy or whatever, but you got something really important to do and maybe they're not aware of it and so on. So I would love to do that, But I need to be here, there. Maharaj wants me here, Vijay, I'm got to go, and we got to do this and so on. That's all. Like that. Is that helpful? So next time I ask you to do something, just tell me that. I'm always asking to do things. Can you pick some tulsi? Can you pick some tulsi? Can you do this? Can you do that? Okay. So we can end. Yes. Oh, pulled it right out of the beans. Green beans. It was in the case.
Time left for one comment?
Yes, Maitreya, go ahead.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. This is really an interesting verse. I'm really glad that you got this verse for giving class today. you said some very interesting things about just the fact that Nārada Muni, I mean, this whole conversation about humility, and Nārada Muni is humbly expressing his opinion about these devotees like Shishupal, who are so absorbed in thinking about Krishna. And I was thinking as you were giving class that this path for devotees. Actually, Shishupal is a devotee. We know he came down from the spiritual skies specifically to do this interesting service. And he's empowered in that way. So it's not for us. It's not for anyone besides these devotees who are empowered to come down and have this mood. No one else can actually do it. No one else in the history of the world has ever taken birth talking inimically about Krishna before. So this is not a process of sadhana. This is just something for us to appreciate, like Narada is doing. Like, wow, he's really empowered. He's really Krishna conscious. It's not that we're meant to emulate it, but it's such an interesting example and verse. And in the purport, Prabhupada talks about the devotees in Vrindavan and Raga Bhakti, and they're being overwhelmed. Vaidhi Bhakti doesn't cause a person to become overwhelmed. So this is the special prerogative of Goloka Vrindavan, is that these devotees are so overwhelmed with their love for Krishna, they forget who Krishna is, and they see him either on an equal level or on a lower level socially. So also very, very interesting. Just the purport and the verse are fascinating. Thank you for another amazing class.
Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Just had a question. I guess it could be kind of difficult sometimes when you're trying to be a devotee or aspiring, and then it could be easy to become proud because it's like, oh, I know Krishna, or I'm practicing Krishna consciousness. And so my question was about how to kind of remind yourself in the sense like, okay, maybe I'm so fallen or something like that.
Well, one thing is to always try to serve other devotees. That's very, very important. Always be in the mood of serving other devotees, offering respects to other devotees. That's that can be, that's why it's a good thing. Always be rendering service to devotees. Like that. And just being real. Sometimes that expression, hey, get real, or be real. I mean, just think about it for a second. That's why we're always hearing about the great devotees, And like, wait a second, in comparison to that, I'll tell you one thing I think of sometimes, and I don't think of it so much anymore because of what they did to the building next door over there. If for quite some time, probably a few years, there was one homeless person who would camp out on that, and I think there were a few people with him. He was talking all kinds of, here's a few, friend like Casper was with him and a few other people. Anyways, very unfortunate, very suffering soul. You could tell, he's very suffering. I don't know if you ever heard him out there and so on. And but sometimes I'd see him and think, something though? The distance between me and him is a lot closer than the distance between me and someone like Prabhupada. So as far as where I'm at in my evolution of consciousness, he and I are quite close compared to my distance between me and where I'm supposed to be in Krishna consciousness. So you think, oh, he's really low on the totem pole, that guy's really down there. But actually, there's not much in between him and I compared to me and where I'm supposed to be in Krishna consciousness. So, just see things like that, in perspective, So, yes, sir.
How do we not become discouraged? Because mind is so How do we not become discouraged because we have so far to go and such little time, and Maya is so attractive and Krishna is not so attractive to us? So knowing that every day, how do you stay determined knowing that you're so far away and Maya is not? Okay.
Well, there's a few things. One is never underestimate the kindness, mercy of the Vaishnavas, the spiritual master, and Krishna. We have our view of the path, and they have a different view. And if Krishna wants to reach and pull you forward through millions and millions of lifetimes, he can do that. That's one thing. The other thing is always stay in the association of enthusiastic devotees. We always level off with the few people we associate with the most. So if you want to be an enthusiastic devotee, stay with enthusiastic devotees. And never as Asha Bandha, hope against hope. But Krishna's, And the spiritual master and the Vaishnavas, there are, what do we say every morning? Bancha kalpatarubhascha. They're like desire trees. They can fulfill the desires of everyone. So that which seems to be impossible becomes very, very possible by the grace of Krishna and his devotees. It's because it's not a mundane calculation, Krishna consciousness. Hope that helps. We can end here. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.